My therapist asked me, who are you losing the weight for?
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to look like every other girl in the room. And it took me a very long time to accept that narrative because I'm like, why are my genetics this way?
Yeah.
I can't shave off the bone weight in my body. This is completely impossible.
Welcome to another episode of بدون سكر, where talks are not sugar-coated and unfiltered. Today I have a very good friend of mine. Her name is Tamara. Hello. And throughout our friendship, we bonded a lot on the subject of body image. And we've been wanting to speak about it for a while because I know it touches a lot of different people's lives and where they are right now. And I think we both, we both took extreme measures to control our body image and to keep it in a specific frame. Mm-hmm. And I think it was time to discuss it. So we both did different things. Not sure if we like the results yet.
I think it's all subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to talk about it today. And yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to start with your extreme measures, or should I start with the extreme measures?
I think, I don't mind. I'll start with mine, actually. So my extreme measures started at the age of 11. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I ever was on a diet, which I don't think any person at that age, let alone little girl, should ever start to do that to herself, because that's already not a great starter to your journey of self-image or body image or whatever you want to label it that regards the way you look and the way you think of yourself. And that was just a stepping stone towards anorexia by the age of 13. And that was I hate to say this, but it was the lightest version of anorexia that I think I put myself through. Because unfortunately, by the age of 16, 17, that's where I had my second bout of anorexia, and that one landed me into the hospital, and it was pretty bad. For me, I just felt like it just wasn't enough, even though it was really, really bad. I just felt that, okay, it's still like I could do much better and I could do much better. And the reality of the situation is that after I had gotten admitted to the hospital, I had lost so much weight while I was in the hospital because of my stomach not reacting to something that was foreign to me, because I had stuck with the same diet for 4 months. Wow. And I had eaten the same food for 4 months, that by just eating a bag of crisps landed me into the hospital in Christmas. And just the way my body had reacted, unfortunately, so many fluids just came out of me in 5 hours, and I had lost 2 additional kilos.
Which was an achievement, I'm assuming, in your head.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Unfortunately. And when I stood up, and because I had lost so much body fluid and I had literally no nutrients in my body, I could barely stand for less than a minute. And I had my finals at the time. So
what a timing.
Yeah. And so the last stage of anorexia for me was at the age of 20. I was going through a lot of things emotionally and just mentally speaking. I just wasn't happy with what I looked like, and I wasn't happy with what I was seeing in the mirror. So I got addicted to laxatives for a year, natural laxatives, albeit. But yeah, again, landed me into the hospital, and that was, I think, the closing chapter to what caused like my health to go the way it did, unfortunately. So yeah, I think I wouldn't advise anybody to go about it, because I do look at it now at the age of 32. I now look the way I look, and I would never advise that to be an approach to how you want to deal with your self-consciousness, to deal with how you feel confident in your own skin, because reality is that it is considered self-harm.
It is.
It is self-harm, and it's self-destructive in so many different ways that the self-destruction, does stick with you for the rest of your life, like with your health.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I think from my side, I don't think I had eating disorder until I realized I did, because it's not anorexia and it's not bulimia, which are your famous ones. They're the celebrities. It's more binge eating and emotional eating.
Yeah.
I have a very early recollection of finding joy in food, and that's after my parents' divorce, and there was no disciplines.
Yeah.
But also, I never realized how I wasn't heavy. Maybe I had a bit of chub, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't heavy, and I believed I was. So I had developed body dysmorphia in a very, very young age, because my brother would tell me I was heavy, or someone else would tell me I was heavy. So I had everyone else's thoughts about me that built who I thought I was. So I kept gaining weight. I reached a very tough time, and you hate yourself. You hate how you look. Nothing fits. And obviously, we grew up in a time, so 2000s and the 90s and 2000s were very harsh on how you're supposed to look like. If you were not white-skinned or fair-skinned and hairless and boobless and curveless, you're not worthy, or you're not good-looking enough, or you're not happy, because everything on TV was about how happy these people are.
Ironically,
especially when it's an always
ad.
So
no one is that happy during that time of the month.
No one. So you look at your body, you look at yourself, you're like, what's wrong with me? Why do I have hair here? Why do I look like this? Why don't I have flat stomach? Whatever. And until I gained so much weight throughout university, and going to Lebanon was also a harsh reminder, because in Saudi you don't see your body.
Nah.
Really, you're covered most of the time, or you're wearing something loose. So only when I used to travel to Lebanon, I would feel the fat, and my family always asked me. I had developed so much anxiety whenever I went to Beirut, because what am I going to tell my family?
Yeah.
Because obviously they're going to ask me that, and they're going to compare me, blah, blah. So eventually, one of the first things I've done is liposuction. Please, if you are a female or a person who is not skinny and you might gain weight, do not do liposuction. It's one of the worst procedures ever. And I know I'm not a surgeon, but it's painful, and it changes your body forever. Right now, my body, fat distribution is not the same. So I lost the weight for a bit, then I gained it back. Even the guy who wanted to do my surgery, he was like, he looked at me in horror, because he knew he couldn't fix it, but he wanted me to do the surgery. So commercial gains.
Damn, son.
Yeah. And then after that, a year or so, no more, in 2016, and it took me a long time to tell people, I did sleeve surgery, and I became the best version of myself. Okay. But now I'm trapped, and I need to go back to that, which was unrealistic, because I was eating half a cup of coffee,
like bird food size
nothing.
Version,
I never fixed the way I ate.
Oh, okay.
I just ate, let's say, Burger King, but just 2 bites. And that's a dream, right? You eat 2 bites, you're full, you're good, you're still enjoying your burger, and you lost weight. I lost weight for so long, but I went into a place where I wouldn't recognize myself in the mirror. Yeah. So I had a big identity issue. And you know how they tell you looks don't matter, it's the personality? It's a lie.
I used to play a Beyonce song here. Okay.
It's a lie. Looks matter. People treated me differently. Men were more interested in me. It was a very sad realization that my weight was stopping me from achieving all of that. Yeah. And everyone was like, no, you should have been confident. No.
Body positive.
Looks matter, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then now I'm in this place where I gained back most of the weight, and I'm having a hard time going back, and I'm unlearning everything I did, and learning every I don't know what it is, body image myth that we picked up. Not myth, conviction that we picked up.
Yeah. I think it's more of a like societal body beliefs that you may have, that you grew up on.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think the era that we grew up in being, I'm a 90s baby anyway. It didn't really help, because, we didn't have the level of information and, if you want to say, transparency in knowledge today, with what social media and socialites and influencers, if you would like to call them, as they're called today, the real reality that goes behind it. And I'm someone who's been in the gym since the age of 14. Didn't help that I was doing anorexia and gymming at the same time. Talk about self-worth. And so, like being in powerlifted, weightlifted, crossfitted, everything that is related to strength and power I've done. And the kind of images that you have as a woman as to what you should look like if you are in that field, even though for me it was more of a mental challenge and just an ambition of mine, it's not realistic, because they don't tell you, oh, by the way, you have to take 15 supplements, these many fat burners, these many protein shakes, these many things. And I've been on that course where I was a bodybuilder for a year, and I did all those trials. And again, very natural stuff that you buy at Barn and whatever that's called, the place. Anyway, it sells all of the natural supplements that is related to this particular activity. And it did great, but I mean, it's not sustainable. I didn't find that it was sustainable.
It's not.
And everything that I think that comes with the concept of body image and self-worth and body dysmorphia, you're planted with so many beliefs that are more to your detriment rather than to your benefits.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you mentioned that when you actually had the experience of being in that room with your doctor, where he gave you a look of horror, but still went ahead with the surgery. I'm like, dude, you knew you could have tackled this patient far more different by letting her know that this is not going to be the solution.
I know I wouldn't have accepted it. I was excited to do it, but I remember seeing his face, and I remember he wanted to say something. He knew it was wrong. Yeah. And he's a very known plastic surgeon. Very good work. I won't deny it. Yeah. But he knew.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think, there's a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda, to be honest, in these situations, especially when I look at my own life about how I went about what I did. But I think that at the time, the education about handling lifestyle choices and having healthier eating habits was not part of the narrative, unfortunately. It was more about like diet pills, which I also did when I was young. Diet pills, starve yourself. You go on Tumblr, you would find, again, so many of my own findings. You would find so many like Thinspo pages. I literally remember there was a ledger of what your food intake should look like for a month. And so you would have varying intakes starting from 200 a day to 800 max. And I remember like it was yesterday, I still remember. So like for Monday, this is what you should have. Total intake for the day, 200. And for Tuesday, total intake 500, and this is what you should be having. And so unfortunately, one of the things that I didn't realize, and I'm someone who hates numbers, is that you start becoming obsessive with counting. You start becoming obsessive with what's in your food.
It's never ending.
Oh, it's never ending.
You know, I still use calorie counter.
Okay.
And I got better at it. And then you become very good at it, that you're like, oh, this is 500 calories, 200 calories. You know, you get better at it, but it's never ending.
I mean, my number addiction became so bad that even when I started wearing, you know, the sport tech stuff at the gym, where you have the fitness tracker around your torso, around your diaphragm, or even like the infamous, you know, the different types of sport watches that we both have.
Both of us are wearing.
It took me a very long time to become comfortable with wearing it, because I became so obsessed with how much calorie input I would be burning during my exercises. And I'm like, okay, guys, this is not healthy. Like I had to have a lot of redirected self-narrative discussions with myself about, okay, again, this is not a number-based thing. You are a human being. You need to consume your calories per day. You are going to look like, not just because of the fact that you overate, your genetics have a massive play in the way.
And no one tells you that.
No one tells you that.
No one tells you that.
You know, like my mom, for example, is a petite 5.
Oh, yeah, she's small.
She's small. Yeah. My mom is quite petite in her frame, and she's only 1.60 meters. I am 171. I have more of my dad's physique, which is more of a bulky builder's physique. I have a heavier frame as a woman, and when I do add muscle onto it, there is strength that's involved in that equation, and so I'm not going to look like every other girl in the room. And it took me a very long time to accept that narrative, because I'm like, why are my genetics this way? I can't shave off the bone weight in my body. This is completely impossible. And you know, it just like, it's such a horrible conversation that you don't realize how bad it is. And when you start having this conversation with someone who hasn't been through this, they look at you like, honey, are you okay?
And you're like, it's normal.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's totally normal. And I found out that with a lot of women, they've all had their own share of experiences when it comes to, you know, self-harm in the form of eating disorders. A woman that I've recently met who is wonderful. I found out that because she started joining the gym culture at a young age, she did it because she wanted to learn how to gym.
Okay.
And she found herself, again, she was at a, sort of peer pressure age, unfortunately. The friends that she made at the gym encouraged her to develop an eating disorder.
Oh.
And I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like, I mean, I've been pressured into developing an eating disorder because I didn't have the right tools nor the healthy knowledge that I have now as to how to deal with looking better or feeling better. That's me now. But at the time, I didn't have that. But no, I didn't have like a circle of friends like, oh my God, today I ate like 400 calories.
But there are a lot of them. I didn't have that. But I remember growing up with the conversations we had with girls like, oh, I'm going to diet. I can't eat this. But they are intense group of friends like that. They bond over calorie counting.
Yeah, I think,
it's good that we didn't have that at least.
No, I mean, Tumblr was there for a reason.
Yeah.
I think that created the cult, and honestly. And every time when I go on Instagram and I still see Fitspo and Thinspo, I'm like, guys, like there's great inspiration towards the hard work that you've put into looking the way you look. There's no robbing you from that title. But at the same time, like if we're going to talk about being an inspiration, let's talk about the reality of what goes into what makes you look the way you look. And it's kind of sad because I'm like, you're putting a very impossible, like Kim Kardashian, for example, as much as it's all about, okay, yay, we've used our own body elements to look the way that we look. There's no implants or whatever it may be. Great for you, babe. Applaud. Like there's no denial. Your physique is fantastic. But how do I explain that? Let's say if I had a daughter one day, how am I going to explain that to her that, honey, like in order for you to attain a physique like this, you need to first of all have the genetics of having an hour body glass.
Yeah.
I thankfully have that.
Yeah.
That's my genetics. Yeah. But if you don't,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
There's not enough workouts or diets to do
exactly.
Any of that.
And when there's just it's been a very interesting phenomenon on the rise, to be honest, in the past 10 years where you go out and it's very normal for you to see women and men who have gone that far. And I'm like, you know what? Everyone's got their own prerogative. At the end of the day, it's how you want to handle that for yourself. My experience was unfortunately through the form of anorexia, and ironically enough, a couple of years later, obesity. So, and I think obesity was a godsend to me because it really forced me to address a lot of my unhealthy eating habits that really were horrendous. Like the reality of it is that, okay, first of all, you're starving yourself. Yeah. Second of all, you're not eating healthy. Yeah. You are smoking more and drinking far too many coffees at your age. You are stressed and overwhelmed. And I'm just 20. Yeah. Like, I was 20 years old. Yeah. Like, what am I going through? A mortgage? Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the reality of the age and what the things I was doing to my body. I look at myself now at the age of 32 and I'm like, I cringe at what I was doing to myself. So I think that there's a very vicious cycle that goes into, okay, as a woman, these are the societal pressures that you're going to deal with. I agree with you that looks do matter because I mean, till today, there's a lot of conversations that happen between moms and daughters. Look better, feel better, look hotter, do this to your face, do that to your body. And about being presentable with to your husband. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. And unfortunately, like even though we are in 2022, guys, like it is still a conversation that happens till date. Whether overtly or not, it's part of a narrative that still is. And it's
limited to mom and daughter because the men don't have these conversations. I know they have their fair share of body image, but men don't have these conversations. I'll give you an example.
Please do.
After I did my surgery, so that was my second surgery, right? And it's painful as well. It's a lot. It messes with you. I saw my mom after maybe 4 months. One of the first things she asked me, yes, mom, you asked me that. She asked me, when are you going to do a boob lift?
Jeez.
That was wrong. She did. I was like, excuse me? A, who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
B, who's going to take the pain?
Are you sponsoring this?
B, the pain. I'm like, why? And I didn't think anything was wrong with my boobs. Obviously, I did. When you lose weight, you lose a bit of that. And
naturally.
And I didn't even know there's something wrong. And now,
it's
after that,
now it became a problem.
Yeah. And I didn't need that. I was fine. I did not need that. So I think there's a lot that happens between mom and daughter, unfortunately. And I think I saw something on one person I followed on Instagram.
Yeah.
And she asked, why do moms always care and ask about looks? And I was like, that's a very good point.
That is actually a very good point.
And so I had a light bulb moment a few years ago with my nutritionist. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about fooding. We're talking about eating
That's
disorders.
the name of a restaurant, guys.
So I had a light bulb moment with my nutritionist about eating disorders. She's like, a lot of them, or all of them, so bulimia and anorexia, are caused by a mother-daughter relationship. I said, yeah. I don't have a mom. As in, I didn't grow up with a mom. She's like, exactly.
Yeah.
Good point. Makes sense. And I think we disregard everything that we've been told and everything. And the thing is, and I don't blame this on my mom, seeing her, so my mom is opposite to yours. So she's a bit taller than I am, very skinny and very well dressed, very beautiful woman, especially when I was growing up. So I was heavy and I'd see her and I would just feel awful. It was a constant reminder that I don't look like that I don't get the attention that she gets, that I don't feel worthy as much as she does. And there's a lot of I don't know what it is, value tied to the way we look, and I don't know why. It's so important to look a certain way.
I don't really know the history of when it became relevant for us to look super fantastic and like be compared to Barbie. I think at some point, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and I do agree that a lot of eating disorders stem tremendously from family relationships. Specifically like the ones that you've mentioned, like mom and daughter. Mine definitely do. And obviously unhealthy comparison to the way that my mom looks, who I described earlier, the way that she looks. And she's far more feminine to me.
Oh, that's another subject completely.
Yeah,
being feminine.
She's very feminine. Yeah. She looks very feminine. I have always just been a tomboy, scrapes on my knees, bumping into walls from rollerblading way too fast, and just being a monkey of a child, honestly. And I didn't look like her. I didn't look like her at all, actually.
Then you feel something is wrong.
You feel like something is wrong, and when you're being told that you look like, lose that tummy or eat less or maybe these Tide pills, it's just like, okay, let's be realistic about what that presents itself to a child. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. What it translates to a child when you're being told that by someone who is an immediate connection to you in a relationship in that form. And I think it's something that I've had to think about, when it comes to, okay, if I do become a parent and if I do have kids and if it happens to be a daughter, then how does that conversation translate for you? And then how are you going to handle that conversation? Yeah. And what kind of idea are you going to give to your kid? Like what's the game here? Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah.
The reason I got my surgery. So I was 26 and I was my heaviest. And I was with my mom. We were on a trip. And we were talking openly about it. So the liposuction failed. Everything I was doing failed. And I was very being very vulnerable about the weight. And I'm like, I don't want to be a fat mom. Don't want to. Because I know how harmful it is. And I don't want to pass this on because you grow up with these things. Yeah. And it's the hardest thing to deal with because you keep continuously unlearn. Why do I have to put myself through this? Yeah. And she was like, let's do the surgery. Because the surgery felt like I failed. I failed and I hid it for 5 years because I didn't lose weight the way I was supposed to lose weight. So now I can talk about it openly, but it took me a lot of unshaming. Yeah. And I did it because I don't know if I'm going to have kids or not, but I did it because if I wanted to, I want to be ready to do that. Yeah. But yeah, that was the main reason. So.
Okay, virtual tissues being thrown at you. Virtual tissues.
So to wrap up.
Yes.
What was your biggest unlearning that you had to do?
The biggest unlearning was accepting that my body has gotten me this far and I was not paying its deserved gratitude. Instead of beating it up every single day with the words that I was saying to myself or whatever you want to say, I had to really embrace the fact that I'm like, woman, you've gotten this far in life. It's got like your body has helped you get here.
It's hard to change the narrative.
Exactly. As much as you are being about being intellectual and being smart and being kind, you also have to pay gratitude to the vessel that got you here at the end of the day. Like, come on, you know?
Yeah.
Because without it, you wouldn't be here. Let's just be honest.
Good point.
Right? And so I had to really embrace that journey and just admit to the fact that this is the way I look. If there is anything else that I would want to change, I would have done it. Yeah. And knowing my stubborn self, I would have done it regardless.
I'm sure.
So I think that for me, it's about the accepting, about this is the way I look. This is what I'm born with. Lady Gaga. And be proud of it. Be proud of the fact that you're strong. Be proud of the fact that you have a strong frame and you can lift heavier shit than some guys, you know. You know.
Good job. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my unlearning. What was yours?
The way I eat was a very big part of it. I realized how badly we eat, and we had to unlearn all of bad eating habits. The fact that I started eating salads 2 years ago is not okay. That's one. Another one is it wasn't so bad. I didn't look that bad. Like I had to learn how I looked like.
Oh yeah.
And realize how I really look like.
Yeah.
And I was so harsh to myself.
You know what's funny? Is that the whole looking bad? I looked up pictures of myself like 2 years ago. I still remember the picture. Like I was like, oh my God, I look like a side building in some abandoned warehouse area. Like
That's
I look
awful.
Yeah.
That's awful to say.
And then I'm like, girl, you look hot. You look good. Like there's nothing wrong with you. And then for some moment in the epitome, in the abyss of mental, you know, dysmorphia and all of that jazz, that's how I felt. Oh. And I'm like, you got to work on that.
Yeah.
That's not an okay self-expression towards yourself. But yeah.
No, it's just I'm trying to understand. My therapist asked me, who are you losing the weight for?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's for me, maybe, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's for other people. I want to look. I don't know. And I'm struggling to lose the weight, and I'm scared of going back to where I was. I'm scared. I'm terrified. It terrifies me.
I know the terror because I've lived it. I think the one thing that I may advise is to be patient with yourself.
Have you met me?
No, I have met you.
You know what I mean?
And I know. But what I'm saying is that because what happens is that when you rush into things, you will not reap the benefits of learning to get there.
No.
You're just going to jump in like very quickly, and then you're going to get out of it. Like you didn't do anything. Like shaman. No. Like you just like, we were trying to avoid this whole rushing into this, and then we just went and we did the same thing. It's like you might as well be called crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think just really take it easy, embrace the journey, embrace the falls, embrace the falling off the wagon and the F-ups and the, great victory. We look great today. And just honestly, I think it's more about chasing feeling good.
Yeah.
Rather than chasing to look good.
Yeah. Now that's what I'm like, the fact that I'm feeling like how do I say this? I don't feel great in my skin. That's what I want to get better at rather than, you know what I mean?
And I think that's far better because when you start, I think the biggest step to overcome is accepting.
Yeah.
Because the moment you accept, then that's kind of half the job done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I think the hardest part is kind of coming to the reality of being like, okay, this is what it is. This is what I'm dealing with. And I can't run away from it anymore. Yeah. I need to accept that this is what it is. Yeah. As harsh as it has to be accepted. Yeah. It needs to be accepted, not has to be.
Yeah.
And so I think the moment you allow yourself to accept the reality of what you've done or what you've written for yourself, that's when you're like, okay, now let's pick the pen back up again and let's continue writing this narrative, but in a far more different format and context. And I think that that's the whole game that comes with, you know, self-image and body image. You didn't get to where you are today. And I'm saying this not just like to you as well. I'm saying like this in general. You didn't get to where you did today without years of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't get to the moon in a day. Like it takes a while for you. Like Rome was not built in a day. It takes a while. So when people come to me and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't like the way I feel. I don't like." Okay, I'm like, so let's have a conversation. What's happening with you? Oh, I've been eating pasta with white sauce for 6 months. Okay, come on. Like, I mean, if that makes you feel good for whatever stress eating reason, or that's a way of you dealing with your emotions and that helps you, great for you. I also don't think it's good for you on the long term when it comes to your health, because hello cholesterol and high blood pressure. But what I'm saying is that you need to also admit to the shit that you've done before that got you there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of denial.
Oh, yeah. No. It's far more easy to blame someone else for your mistakes, or to blame, you know, or to just completely omit the fact that you've done it. Yeah. It's like, oh, I had French fries last night. No, I didn't. No.
It doesn't count. It's just 10 calories.
Exactly. It was like at 2 a.m. in the morning. You know, my body's not working at that hour. You know? Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I'm happy for your journey.
Thank you. I'm very happy with where I am. Yeah. So thank you for having me today again. And I hope that we get to have more conversations soon. Okay.
Thank you for tuning in, and do let me know what's your journey with self-image, self-worth? How did your family impact you, your friends? Where are you in this journey? And thank you for listening again.